Every once in a while, I find something that clicks with me immediately, and I just have to talk about it. I'm here to tell you about a game called Warden's. It's a mobility-focused, 3-person co-op shooter with a single-player mode offline. But it's also a roguelite where you're unlocking more weapons and abilities as you go, and creating builds each run that synergize with your partners. The developers at Elizio, a now 20-man dev team creating their first original game, reached out to me as longtime viewers and wanted me to check it out, which is something that takes me back to the early Deadlink days, and like Deadlink, Warden's immediately impressed me. So this video is sponsored by Elizio directly, and I'm gonna show you guys what makes this game interesting. It gets a recommendation from me without a doubt, but of course I do not censor my thoughts just because of a sponsorship. I have some strong feedback and criticisms and disagreements with aspects of this game that I will be expressing. But first, why do I like Warden's? You'll notice with your eyeballs that the game just looks nice. What is this, cell shading? I don't know animation, but I think the use of all the high contrast colors makes for a beautiful sight. While the levels essentially play the same way, they do have unique looks to them, keeping things fresh. Even as gameplay gets full-on chaotic, there's still clarity, which is the most impressive part. Each level is a big open space with tons of verticality, and the mission is to activate 3 satellite arrays to open an escape portal that takes you to a boss fight. There's 5 of these stages to beat the game, and you'll be tackling these missions using a variety of special suits called Wardens. Each Warden has a unique mode of mobility. While all Wardens have a universal dash and double jump, individual mobility options have you flying around like Iron Man, hovering for extended periods of time, zipping around at lightning speed, or doing large leaps through the air. Interestingly, the game was originally designed to have just one Warden with multiple mobility options, but it resulted in this being too complicated, and diversifying into multiple Wardens allowed them to experiment and add even more mobility ideas into the game. Mastering your mobility will have you dodging projectiles to survive the bullet hell onslaught, and dominating the airspace to rain down hell on grounded enemies while you do battle with the airborne ones. So each Warden is unique and has 2 different special attacks on cooldown timers, what they call executables. Call down an orbital strike, drop mines in the air as you fly over enemies, and then you have ultimates. Shoot a devastating energy beam as you float in the air, zip around like a cyber ninja slashing everyone open, send dozens of rockets towards a bunch of targeted enemies. It's fun stuff, and I had a good time experimenting with my options. But it's not just abilities, you have guns too, of course. Rifles, railguns, miniguns, icicle launchers, a bunch of weird stuff I haven't figured out yet. If I'm being honest, I think the guns have a lack of oomph. Some of them just don't have satisfying sounds. I hope they can get beefed up a little bit. That's probably the most underwhelming aspect. I want more sound, more intense music, more boom and bang. Currently, it's all a bit too subdued and chill for the action on screen. I mean, listen to the big alt-fire blast of the railgun. It's quite underwhelming for something so powerful. The guns do have a fun resource mechanic involving overheating. You never actually have to reload. Shooting your primary fire heats up your gun, and you discharge that heat with an alt-fire. The machine gun discharges with a shotgun blast. Energy weapons will discharge some kind of energy ball. You've got the icicle gun discharging with fire bombs, which can attach to enemies or be placed on surfaces. You can see me causing enemies to walk through them here, and they all burn to death. And the railgun is super good, the alt-fire piercing through multiple enemies. As you're shooting and building up heat, you can keep track of it easily by having an eye on the orange meter to the right of your reticle. A key part of mastering Warden's is managing your weapon heat so it doesn't go into an overheating stage where you can't use it. However, there are upgrades to make builds that give you buffs every time you overheat, so in some cases it can be a good thing. So let's get to the roguelite aspects of Warden's. And before I do, I will disclose that I have not played Risk of Rain 2, okay? I haven't. It's a big influence on this game, obviously, and if something I'm talking about is similar to Risk of Rain 2, fine, whatever, tell me about it. but I haven't played it, so I don't know. I own the game, it's in my Steam list. I'll get to it someday, I promise. But I can't play every game in the world, guys, I'm sorry. From what I've seen and heard from my friends, this game is heavily Risk of Rain 2 inspired, but it is still doing its own thing. So please comment, this game looks like Risk of Rain 2. Okay, moving on. Like I said, you're going through 5 stages, and as you do, you'll be gaining 2 kinds of credits, one for temporary upgrades and one for permanent ones. You'll gain credits from kills, as well as unlocking crates of credits around the map. These can be used at augment stations, where you select one of 3 upgrades like getting a shield boost, applying fire damage to enemies, higher damage depending on your health value, increasing firing rate, and you want to get as many of these as you can because they stay with you the entire run. Eventually you'll have a giant list of augments and you'll get super powerful. You can even get some cool effects added to your superhero landing, like healing yourself for every enemy killed by it, or stunning enemies for several seconds, or getting a fire rate boost after landing. Believe me, you need to play with the superhero landing because the game's combat really opens up with it. Some Wardens perform it by flying straight down, others do it by pressing the flight button again while in the air. You can instantly smash healing crystals with a superhero landing, and remember that you can actually keep building your max shield every time you break a blue crystal. Stock up on shield points before you go into a boss fight. You'll find interesting augments to create builds around. One that paired great with the railgun was spawning a rocket every time I did 40 plus damage, so that's all the time. I eventually upgraded to 2, even 3 rockets, and just look at the destruction I was causing. Watch me do a superhero landing which kills 2 snipers, and all that damage generates like 8 rockets which auto-target the next living sniper.
Oh, that was so fucking cool!
Watch me use my ultimate attack to target the 4 turrets protecting the satellite array, and then all that damage generates more missiles to target them again, and they're toast. If you want to build based on flight, you can spec into recharging your flight energy through damage, so you can stay airborne for the entire fight. There's so many augments to choose, and further upgrade for a high cost. And I need some kind of codex that explains every single one of these terms and icons, because I look at this and say, what? The list also got so big it started to obscure my vision, though I guess it wouldn't be like this with 3 players sharing all the upgrades. Single player is currently super unbalanced, getting everything for yourself, killing enemies so fast you go long periods without anyone attacking you. I guess I scared them away because I'm super powerful over here, I wouldn't want to fight me either. You can also exchange some of your temporary credits for the ones that grant permanent unlocks, dumping them into the reservoirs in the hub world, increasing your max HP, your shield, and your flight stamina. You can also use them to unlock more Wardens and guns. Once you finish the game, you'll have access to an augment station where you can use these perma-credits to buy augments to take into your next run, which is a cool feature for replayability. But the enemies also give these data chips as you kill them, and that's what you use to charge up the satellite arrays each level. You gotta activate them first, and then wait in the active zones while the data chips you collected from the enemies slowly absorb into the machine. If you don't have enough of these chips, you'll have to kill some more enemies around the zone, or go hunt some more around the map and come back. You want to find these necro rifts that spawn a wave of enemies. You'll get a bunch of credits, temporary and permanent, and you'll get data chips you can take to the array stations. These fights can mess you up, but they're the only way you're going to get what you need to complete the mission. So you'll want to make sure you're upgrading your character and finding good synergy with your team. As you fight, you'll obviously take damage, then you'll need to hunt down colored crystals to refill health and shield, which can heal your entire team as long as they get in before the aura disappears. Red crystals grant a temporary damage boost, and yellow crystals refill your flight energy, so you can intelligently target these as your stamina gets low so you can continue moving about quickly. The longer you stay in each level, the harder the game gets, so there's an interesting push and pull going on. Maybe you want to stay a while so you can kill more enemies and farm credits, unlocking more augment stations and getting more powers that you can take through the rest of your run. And your credits don't carry over to the next stage, so you want to spend what you got. But if you stay too long, the danger increases exponentially and you could end up dying and losing the run. Bye-bye upgrades. An activated satellite array will point you in the direction of the other two, and once they're all up and running, the escape portal appears and you're transported to a boss fight. Alright, time to get real. I've shown off all the stuff that makes this game really damn cool. If you know me at all, you know I don't play many multiplayer games, and I genuinely enjoyed playing on a team with friends. But it also revealed a lot of issues that need to be addressed. Now, not every issue I have is present in this video, because I have a direct line with the devs, and I have delivered most of my issues to them personally. I don't think it's fair to roast them publicly for something they're already working on a fix for. For example, I think the missions are repetitive and they already want to add more types. I think the bosses need some reconsideration in their design, and they're already thinking about that. I think the game needs cosmetic rewards, and they said they want to do that if the game is successful enough. That's all great, but I need to address a few things and make my case for certain changes and inclusions. The first issue is that there's no way to save your progress. The idea of the game is that you go through 5 stages to the end, but each stage can go on for a long time, especially if you're grinding credits for upgrades before you leave. Playing single player, I was on each stage for over 20 minutes. After a while, you want a break. On your third run, you might just want to stop midway, and there's no way to just finish a boss fight and then make a save file to come back later. I think the host of the game should be able to revisit and continue where they left off, single player or multiplayer. There are no open lobbies for multiplayer, which I think is unfortunate. You'll have to set up a game open to your Steam friends, or console friends when it eventually comes to console. I'd love to see them expand to public lobbies though. The second issue is one of sound. In addition to some of the guns sounding kinda weak, the music is simply not very exciting. You want something energetic and intense to complement the action, and especially the intensity of the moment. Sadly, it's just not there. Like, listen to the trailer. Now, I'm not saying it needs metal music like this, but there's a serious drop in energy when going from that to what's in the game. It's just kinda chill and fairly repetitive. For now, I recommend adjusting your sound settings. Lower everything but the music and weapons, and the game feels better. Making the music louder does at least help. The music picks up in Stage 3 and Stage 5, but you really do need to have it cranked, and even when the tempo is up, it still feels really chill and not very exciting. Sometimes it awkwardly stops and you just have silence till it comes back on. The third issue is one of variety. The game can start to drag because of the fact that at no point are you allowed to change wardens or even weapons. So for an hour and a half, you're shooting the same weapon the entire time, using the same powers, and regardless of all the augments I'm pouring into my character, I'm just dying to be able to experiment with something else. This was a sentiment shared also amongst my friends as we played co-op. Everyone got tired of being stuck in the same warden with the same weapon. My solution to this would be to spawn wardens and weapon selections after boss fights, and make any warden-specific augments auto-switch to one that is comparable for the other, or just find a way to make it inactive. Additionally, I would put 2 weapon racks in each level for mid-stage weapon switching. If they're worried about people switching to certain weapons to abuse for boss fights, maybe you can make switching weapons cost a lot of permanent credits or something. Or maybe give us a limited number of allowed weapon switches per run. The fourth issue is one of resources. I believe that you should be healed, at least partially, after defeating a boss. It feels really shitty to barely make it out of a boss fight, your entire team nearly dead, and you go into the next level like that and you just get swarmed and die. That sucks. It also sucks that your cooldowns are not reset upon entering a level. We need to have ultimates and executables fully charged when we start the next stage. The fifth issue is one of AI, where I feel like the enemies, as the game goes on, don't exactly add to the fun, because they're all a bunch of snipers. And yeah, I guess it makes sense because the Wardens are so airborne, melee enemies aren't going to be able to do much, but there's just more and more snipers firing at you and guys targeting you with melting lasers that it starts to get kind of annoying. I know me and my friends are no good, but it just wasn't fun to be dealing with the enemies that spawn in later. Essentially, it feels less like a bullet hell experience and more of a constantly avoiding the tracking lasers experience. I would love to see the game focus more on dodging actual projectiles and enemy traps instead of millions of lasers and hit-scanning snipers. Though, I may be wrong about this. Maybe once you know how to get really powerful, it's easier to shut these guys down, but they aren't exactly fun for me to deal with at the moment. I have faith that all this stuff can be addressed, and I anticipate whatever solutions they implement. The game has a great foundation, it just needs some more attention, and the vision needs to expand a bit. Warden's Will is one of the first big surprises for me in 2025, and I hope it gets the support it deserves. So that's me, your father under the mayo, recommending Warden's Will, especially because I'd like to see the team at Elizio get the chance to improve their game over time, bring it to console, and find their footing as a studio so they can go on to create more quality titles in the future. Thank you, Elizio, for reaching out to me, sponsoring this video, answering my questions, and for making a cool-ass game. And can I just say, you're amazing for including the menu option to enable and disable background sound effects when you tab out of the game. Genius. Every game should have that. Thanks to the viewers for watching, I hope you like the game, and I have some special projects coming out real soon. Can we say 3-hour video on a classic TV series? So make sure you're subbed. Bye.